Hi everyone, thank you for joining me on Library Ninja. And today we are going to be looking at a book called Crossroads by W.M. Paul Young, by reviewing it, reflecting on it, and coming out with a recommendation. So first off, I just want to say this is a faith-based book. It does discuss about heaven and Jesus, the Holy Spirit. So if you aren't interested in this type of topics or very overwhelmed by it, I would not recommend this for you. Instead, I would just pass it up if you don't go into that area of religion. But if you are, this book, as you can see, it's mid-sized book, kind of on the smaller scale of things, and it's pretty good size. It's, I would say, it actually is 286 pages, excluding the author's notes and his acknowledgments at the end of the book. But it is quite a good sized book there to read. And I do love the title of the book, Crossroads, as I will sum it up, but not give it up, what this story is. And it is about this guy named Tony, who is arrogant, selfish, very negative character in the book. And he makes some pretty bad choices with himself. And at some point ends up in a car wreck and ends up in a coma. So throughout the book, we come to Tony's journey to heaven, as I believe it is. And he encounters guardians and spirits and the Holy Spirit, and he goes through this journey and ultimately meeting Jesus. And I really love that, with how the author really expands on imagery of heaven and Jesus and just that spirit. And it really has this calming, light, safe effect, in at least in my mind and in what I picture it, and how it captures me with the author's words and carries me through quotes and just all around changes my mind around, and really is very thought-provoking throughout the book, just with that scenery. And Jesus pretty much tells him, okay, Tony, I'm gonna give you an assignment. I want you to choose one person to heal. It cannot be someone from the past that has already passed away, which Tony's background with a loss is that he did end up losing his son. And I can't imagine what that's like to be a parent and losing a child and going through a grieving and just that significant of a loss. I can't imagine, but that somewhat explains Tony's roughness, and also his family and how it's torn apart, especially with his daughter and the relationship that he has with her, which is very distant. So he cannot do that with his son. However, Jesus gives him choices, and one of the choices is himself too, which he does see himself at some point in the story in a coma. And he does have the opportunity, but will he choose it? And also, Jesus puts him in other people's lives as far as their body, and he can see what they're going through. And one of the characters is my favorite, I love, is the character named Cabby. And it's this little boy who's very playful, easygoing, just full of spirit. And he has Down syndrome. And you get to see his perspective, Tony does, and how people treat him, and how rude they are, and how they snicker and laugh, and how they judge him for just being him. And I think that changes Tony. around, and it definitely wakes him up to changing and for the better. And he comes to himself with self-reflection and really looks at himself and looks at all the walls he builds up. And I think we do that. We do build up walls of what we don't like about ourselves. And we build them up and push people away. And instead we get this negativity around us because we have these walls. And the author really does a great imagery with that, and how Tony is able to confront his ego and other traits about himself and really bring that down and break that down. So when it comes to, again, that assignment Jesus gives Tony, he comes with other characters in the book. And the ultimate question is, who does he heal? How does he do it? So it is a great question, a great theme. And the themes are definitely faith-based, questioning your faith, questioning your morals and your principles and the dynamics of your family. And at some point, will he reunite with his daughter? Can he change that? And how does he change it? And also the great self-reflection that he has when he is going through this transition. And that's another favorite character of mine, is Tony, because the author creates this rough, rawness and negative character, which I didn't like, but all of a sudden he's creating a transition and a change. And that's the lesson here, that we can change. There is hope, and it's what you do with it in the long run with the options that you have. So I would definitely recommend The Crossroads, hence the title, Crossroads, that Tony goes through. And I would definitely give this book to a friend. My recommendation, as far as other books out there that I have read, and there's one book that comes to my mind that's very similar to this, it's a faith-based book too, is Miracles from Heaven. And the author is Christy Wilson Beam, and she is a mother of a daughter who actually got injured falling through a tree trunk. And the miracle is that she survived, hence the title. So it is a really good inspirational book to read, and very similar to this book I would recommend. So I hope to see you guys again. Let me know what y'all think, and your recommendations are always welcome on my page. I hope to share the good, the bad, and finding the great read all over again. So thank you for joining me in finding hopefully the great read. This is Library Ninja signing off. Thank you.